Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Wishwell Farms. I'm not gonna lie, this has been a very frustrating and disappointing start to the 2025 vegetable growing season. However, I am happy to report that we have finally had about a 5-day stretch of dry weather with no rain, finally. And I'm getting ready to go finish up laying some plastic mulch. I actually just returned from the field. I was out disking, getting the soil prepped for laying plastic and shaping raised beds. I wasn't able to sink down the disc quite as deep as I would have liked, and it was a little tacky in spots, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it looks and how it turned out, and I think I can finally get out there and lay the rest of our plastic mulch that we need for our early season vegetable crops. So I got about 20 rows laid last week, and I got about 20 more to do today, and I'll be all caught up on our early season crops. And then in another week or two, whenever I have time and the soil's fit, I'll go back out and lay about another 40 or 50 rows for our mid and late season crops. All right, I'm ready to head down to the field and finish up these last 20 rows of plastic mulch. My son Gavin is meeting me there to help me out today. Thanks for coming along. All right, we are ready to roll. Getting ready to lay row number 1 right here where I just disked up all this ground. It's probably about 2.5 acres, I'm guessing. We got 19 rows to put out. It's supposed to go right there, but we got a muddy spot here in the middle and in the back, and it's gonna be impossible. It was impossible for me to disc that up. I just would have brought a bunch of mud up. So I'm swapping sides. So early crops will go here and late crops will go back there. I wanted to switch it up because this is the same way I did it last year. The main thing different about this year is that I have sweet corn over here. Normally I have raised beds here, and I go all the way over the woods. This entire field, it's about 8 acres. But we rotated a few things out, so we got some sweet corn here. It's looking good. And we're gonna have more plastic over there. And I already laid some over by the greenhouse and over at the other farm last week. So we already got all of our plastic laid for the cantaloupe and watermelon, and now we're getting ready to lay zucchini, cucumbers, field tomatoes, pickles, eggplant, peppers, yellow squash, all that kind of good stuff. Here's a quick look at my spreadsheet I follow. So right now we are right here. We're getting ready to lay these 4 rows of tomatoes, and then we got 7 rows of eggplant and peppers and 1 row of beets there, and then 8 rows of zucchini, cucumbers, and yellow squash. So where it's white, it's going to be conventional plastic. Where it's green, it's biodegradable plastic. So when I get to the end of the row, I lift up the machine, and Gavin is cutting the plastic and the drip tape. And he's pulling out a few extra feet of drip tape, so we have some extra there to hook onto the header line for irrigating. Now I will turn around, lower the machine, and repeat the process. Gavin is burying the end of the plastic after he cuts it, so the wind doesn't catch it and blow it up. So you can see this drive trail right here I made. I did that before I started. That helps me keep all these rows straight. So I'm gonna drop the machine right here, pull forward, and when the back of the machine gets to that spot there, that's where we start our bed. That way it's a nice straight, even line all the way across the field. Oh, this is a drive row, Gavin. I almost started laying another row of plastic. There's our 4 rows for tomatoes. Now we're gonna make a drive row, and then we'll continue on. check out this dirt. And this is what the bed looks like. It's nice powdery dirt. Our transplant will be going right down in that. There's our irrigation line right down the center. These rows are for bell peppers and eggplant, so we'll have 2 rows, one on either side of the drip irrigation. All right, we're just about finished up laying plastic. We're actually on our final row of the day, and I want to give you a closer look at how this machine works while there's a roll of plastic being laid. Last time it was just at my other farm on the concrete. This time I can show you exactly what some of these adjustments do on the Rainflow 2550. So this is what it looks like as the 4-foot wide plastic is coming out of the machine. You can see how these wheels ride on the shoulder, and they are slightly angled in and out to help keep that plastic snug. And these are the row track wheels that roll across the top of the plastic to make sure we're laying a straight row. We can feed the plastic through in these 2 spots here. We're on the back set of rollers right now, and it just feeds down between those rollers and then through a bottom roller down there. These discs throw the cover dirt onto the shoulder of the plastic to keep it buried so it doesn't blow up. And these shields make the dirt fall straight down and not flip up on the plastic, making a big mess. It would look like this, really bad everywhere, if we didn't have those shields up. I've added little extensions to them because we would often have dirt still get by the plastic shield and get on the plastic, because I like to go fast. There's our drip tape. It gets fed down through these drip tape tubes, and you can see all the dirt we're pulling right now. Shapes a bed and lays the drip tape right here. We'll be planting in the center of the bed, and the drip tape will be off to the edge about 4 or 5 inches from the plants. I forgot to mention that we have 2 drip tape rollers. It didn't come that way. We added the second one. That way we can put down 2 drip tapes at the same time. So for our row of beets, we're going to be planting 3 rows. One on the outside, one down the middle, and one on the outside of that right drip tape tube. We store our shovel and scissors in that little tube there, so we can grab it quickly for cutting the plastic and burying the end at the end of the row. All right, that's a quick look at it. I did go over it in a little more detail in one of my prior videos, maybe 2 or 3 videos back. I will link that video down in the description if you want to check that out. So if you end at this end of the field and lift up the plastic layer, it leaves a hump of dirt there. Yes, you can kind of smooth it out if you let it back down as you pull away, but we never do. I just bring over my scraper blade and smooth this all out so it's all nice and level up through there. That way it's easier to put our irrigation header line up through here to attach all the drip tape to for irrigating our crops under the plastic. So there are many reasons that we lay black plastic on raised beds with drip irrigation. But first and foremost, the main reason for us is weed control. Weeds cannot come up through that black plastic. So our vegetable transplants will be planted down these rows through the black plastic into the soil. And any weeds that try to come up are snuffed out, or they just can't come up through that black plastic. Now we will still fight weeds on the aisleways. So we'll be doing hand pulling, some hoeing, and I have a little walk behind sprayer when areas get out of hand that we have to kill with weed control. But that is the main reason we lay black plastic mulch. Another reason is it makes it easier for irrigating right at the root level of your transplant. Instead of wasting water through overhead irrigation, which can also lead to disease issues, we are using a small drip line under the plastic, and the roots of the transplants are getting watered right there at the soil level. So it's a very efficient, great way for irrigating crops with that drip tape under the black plastic mulch. Another benefit to these raised beds, and you might not be able to see it through the camera, is they are about 4 to 6 inches high off of the soil level because the dirt has been kind of mounded up. and that makes it easier for us to harvest because we don't have to bend over as far to reach the crops. Another huge benefit to the black plastic mulch is that it warms up that soil under the bed. So when we put our transplant down there, the soil could potentially be 5 to 10 degrees warmer than just the bare soil without black plastic mulch on it. So when that sun is out, it's beating down on that black plastic just like a hot asphalt road in the summertime. So it really warms up that bed, and the transplants get a quicker start, and you get a jump on the season, and they're ready to, because they're ready to harvest earlier. And I'm sure there are many other benefits that I'm not thinking of right at the moment, but those are the main ones for us. Oh, I almost forgot to mention that a majority of the mulch that we lay is biodegradable. It's called BioGold 2. I'm not sure exactly what it's made of. I don't know if it's a cornstarch based or something else, but the soil microbes just eat it up at the end of the year, and you can just disc it right in. And by the next season, it's mostly gone. Yeah, there are some scraps from time to time left over, but usually after a full year, it is gone. The only downside to the BioGold 2 is that if you lay it too early in the season, before planting a later crop, it can start to get little splits or slits in it, and then it's not going to do its job of holding back those weeds that you're often fighting in your vegetable field. So we do lay some conventional plastic. So on our 4 rows of tomatoes right here, that is conventional plastic, and these 7 rows for peppers and eggplant is also conventional. The reason we do that is because those 2 crops last from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, all the way till frost for us. So I don't want that plastic degrading in the middle of the season. Now the plastic up here, these next 8 rows, this is for zucchini and cucumbers. We plant those 3 times. So after we harvest those for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it might be, I don't care if that plastic starts degrading because I'm ready to mow those plants down and move on to planting number 2 and eventually planting number 3. So that will all be degradable plastic. So yeah, it works really good, and I've been really happy with the BioGold 2. It stretches just about as good as the black conventional embossed plastic does. And it stays tight against the bed, hugs the bed well, and doesn't tear on us when we're laying it. And eventually it will start getting little slits and tears in it, but that's later on in the summer. So it'll be just fine to have it laid right now because we're hoping to transplant all of this by the end of the week or next week. We have 2 days of rain moving in here, tomorrow and the next day. That's why I wanted to get this down. And as soon as it's dry enough to come out here, we are putting all of our vegetables in. I'm hoping to plant everything in one day. It'll probably be 15 or 20,000 plants. Watermelon, cantaloupe, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, yellow squash, did I say zucchini and cucumbers, and pickles. So those are all of our early crops that we will get out, and I'll be so happy when we finally get those all transplanted because we are at least a week behind now. Today is May 19. Actually, I might not be putting these crops out this week because Friday and Saturday morning it's going to be 41 or 42 degrees, and that is cold. That's risky. If it was going to get down into upper 30s, I would even be worried that it could frost in some of these low-lying areas around here. So when it gets near 40, I just hold off for a couple days. So I'm actually happy that I don't have my crops out right now because I would be sweating bullets when it gets down to 41 degrees on Friday and Saturday. But yeah, there's a warming trend coming. So as soon as that comes, we will be getting all of those crops transplanted. Here's a little look at our early sweet corn. This variety is Bolt. I would say this corn is nearly 10 inches tall, and it's probably getting hungry for some nitrogen. So that's what I'm heading out to do next. I'm gonna go hook up my side dress unit, and we're gonna apply 20 gallons of 28% nitrogen to the acre. Got our yellow squash and zucchini and cucumbers and pickles safely put away in the barn. If it wasn't gonna rain tonight, I would probably just leave them out to continue hardening them off. I mean, they've been out for a week. They are hardened off and they are ready to transplant, but I don't wanna leave my wagons out in the rain. So I pull them in the barn for the night. So this is my nitrogen applicator. This is how I side dress 28% nitrogen on my sweet corn. So when I plant sweet corn, I give it 20 gallons. And then when it's about 6 to 12 inches tall, I give it another 20 gallons. And that's what I'm getting ready to do today. Looks like I still have a little bit left in the tank from last fall from the late sweet corn. And this is a 5-row unit. And here's where I store my nitrogen. I'm gonna pump in enough for about 10 acres. I don't have 10 acres to do tonight, only about 5 or 6, but we're gonna go ahead and put in a little extra because I wanna make sure I don't run out. Oh, I'm glad I saw that. We'll have to repair that before we head to the field. So the way this unit works is these coulters will slice the ground right next to the sweet corn, in between the sweet corn rows. So the sweet corn will be like right here, 5 or 6 inches away from the coulter. And as it's slicing a groove in the soil, these nozzles are shooting a jet stream of nitrogen down in that groove. So it lands down inside that slot and it's in the soil. It's not just resting on top of the ground. Because nitrogen can be a little volatile, and if it's not rained in or disked in or covered up in some way under the dirt, some of it can be lost. So if we can get that nitrogen to stay down inside the soil, it's going to work a lot better, or more of it will be available to my sweet corn. So yeah, I'm going to be putting on 20 gallons to the acre, and that'll be 40 gallons total that they received in liquid nitrogen, but they also got some dry fertilizer earlier in the season before I planted, when I was preparing my fields after doing soil samples. So in total, the sweet corn is getting 40 gallons of 28% nitrogen. And to figure out how many pounds of nitrogen that is, you multiply that times 3. So my sweet corn is getting 120 pounds of 28% liquid nitrogen. But that is not all they get. They also get dry fertilizer broadcast on the field ahead of time before I plant, based on what my soil samples told me. So they also receive some potash, some MAP, which is a dry fertilizer blend, and also some ammonium sulfate. So in total, the sweet corn is getting more than 120 pounds of nitrogen. Probably somewhere between 130 and 140 pounds would be my guess without running the calculations. All right, back in business. I just did a little test run right here to make sure all 5 are working, and it looks like they're good to go. All right, I'm at the end of a row, and I want to show you what this thing is doing here. They're still shooting out because there's some pressure on it, build up on it. So the coulters slice the soil open, and then this little jet stream is shooting down into it. And it almost kind of closes back in after the coulter rolls through. The corn will love this. This will make it get nice and dark green and really take off as soon as we start getting some warm nights and warmer days. It's just been pretty chilly. You know, like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna see 41, 42 degrees on Friday, Saturday morning, and highs in the low 60s. So it's unseasonably cold, but it's just a matter of time before the heat and humidity really kicks in, and the sweet corn will be ready. Man, that was a long day. I don't typically like to work 14, 15-hour days anymore if I don't have to, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to get things done. And I feel like we accomplished a lot today, especially getting that plastic down. That has been eating away at me for days. So that feels really good, getting that down ahead of the rain. And I was up at 5 a.m. this morning, out in the field spraying by 6, trying to kill some weeds ahead of the wind and the rain that's moving in tonight. And I forgot to film us picking tomatoes this morning. We had a pretty big pick, so they're starting to ramp up a little bit. And another day of plant maintenance in the greenhouses. So I think we were out there in the barn till 12:15, getting everything picked and packed and maintained in the greenhouses. Yeah, that was a big day. Really glad it's over, and I'm gonna go home and take a load off now. Folks, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you all again next time down on the farm.